shocked through the music world this week as Toby Keith's wife broke her long-awaited silence ripple after his tragic death. For weeks, fans had waited in anticipation, wondering how she would honor the country legend's memory. Her words, raw and unfiltered, reveal emotions no one expected and shed light on the man behind the music. In a heartfelt statement, she shares memories, grief, and a glimpse into the private life fans never saw. Listen to what she has to say now. Do you want to know what Toby Keith's last image on stage was like? In mid-December, the Encore Theater in Las Vegas buzzed with anticipation, its chandeliers casting glittering reflections across the polished floors, the air thick with the scent of excitement and anticipation. Fans from across the country had flocked to the city, tickets clutched tightly, voices already singing snippets of their favorite songs before the first note was struck. The lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the crowd. Then, from the shadows, Toby Keith emerged. The arena erupted. His presence was magnetic. White cowboy hat tilted at the familiar angle, his signature smirk playing at the corners of his mouth, a guitar slung low across his chest, as if it were an extension of himself. The first strum of "Should Have Been a Cowboy" echoed through the hall, and thousands of voices rose in unison. A tidal wave of memory and devotion swelling around him, Keith moved across the stage with a confidence born of decades spent commanding attention, yet there was a softness in his gestures. He paused between verses, hat resting gently atop the microphone stand, eyes scanning the crowd, glinting with gratitude, pride, and a depth of feeling he rarely revealed. He joked with the audience, quipping about the biting Las Vegas winter winds and expressing heartfelt thanks to his band by name, Bobby on guitar, Mike on drums, Lariat on bass, and Mark on sound. Each shout-out was met with thunderous applause, a reminder of the tight-knit ensemble that had carried his music from dive bars in Oklahoma to sold-out arenas worldwide. These acknowledgments were more than a courtesy. They were a quiet declaration that no performance was ever a solo endeavor. The night unfolded as a celebration of 4 decades of music. Early hits flowed effortlessly into modern singles. The set list a meticulously curated journey through his career. "I Like Girls That Drink Beer" stirred laughter and hoots from the audience, while "Red Solo Cup" transformed into a communal anthem, each chorus amplified by the fans' enthusiastic call and response. At one point, confetti cannons erupted overhead, showering the stage in brilliant bursts of color. Keith tipped his head back and laughed, a moment of pure, unrestrained joy, as if the spectacle itself could briefly push aside the private struggles he bore. Backstage, his family watched quietly, understanding the unspoken reality behind the smile. They knew he had received alarming news that very morning, scans revealing a silent but serious health battle, yet they chose joy that night. On stage, he never let the pain show. Every note, every strum, every pause was dedicated not to himself, but to the thousands of fans who had come to celebrate him. The performance became a shield and a release, a place where music carried him forward when his body could not. The evening reached a poignant crescendo when Keith invited his wife, Trisha, to join him on stage. He carefully placed his guitar in its stand, took her hand, and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. The crowd's roar surged, a tidal wave of emotion acknowledging the quiet intimacy of that gesture. Raising her hand in triumph, Keith shared a private victory in the most public of arenas, a symbolic nod to the love and support that had always grounded him. The cheers were deafening, yet the moment carried a fragile weight, the unspoken knowledge that this connection, this shared joy, might be fleeting. Every fan in the corridors outside the stage experienced a moment of personal connection. Keith paused to sign autographs, never hurrying, never distracted. Each interaction was genuine, a fleeting acknowledgement of the bond he had cultivated over years of touring, recording, and performing. From the first chord to the final bow, he poured himself into the night completely. For the audience, It felt magical. They could not yet understand that the magic was his farewell gift, a final act of devotion to the music and people that had defined his life. The final encore, "I Love This Bar," exploded with energy. Keith's voice carried across the hall, strong and unwavering despite the private toll of the day's revelations. Every chord, every lyric, every beat was an affirmation of a promise he had made decades earlier on a small stage in Oklahoma. To give everything, to leave nothing unsaid, nothing unsung, and that promise was honored. The Las Vegas nights shimmered with the intensity of his dedication, a testament to a career built on hard work, heart, and an unyielding connection to his fans. As the lights dimmed for the last time, Toby Keith took his bow, not as the performer the world knew, but as the man who had carried a hidden battle with grace and courage. Behind the smile, the cowboy hat, and the roaring applause, there was a quiet strength that few would ever fully grasp. He left the stage fulfilled, leaving fans with memories of an electrifying performance, unaware that the man who had given them decades of music had, in that moment, delivered his final live gift. In the days that followed, stories of his courage, joy, and dedication would spread, painting the picture of a performer who understood that music is more than entertainment. It is a lifeline, a bond, and sometimes the ultimate act of love. In November 2021, a quiet shadow began to fall over Toby Keith's days. At first, he brushed off the ache in his stomach, blaming it on the relentless demands of touring, long drives, late-night sound checks, and the unyielding pulse of life on the road. But the discomfort refused to fade. Nights that had once been filled with song and laughter became punctuated by sharp twinges, restless tossing, and the gnawing sense that something was wrong. A trip to the clinic confirmed his fears: a tumor, hidden and insidious. That evening, the news was shared only with those who mattered most, Trisha and their children, in the warmth of their ranch-style kitchen over cups of coffee, steam curling upward as though trying to lift the weight in the room. Toby, ever the protector, reassured them, calling it a mere bump in the road, an obstacle to overcome. But the tears came anyway. His family gripped his hands, shaking and fragile, while he squeezed back, blinking fast enough to hide the tremor of fear behind a mask of calm. Then he picked up the phone, calling the specialists at the Oklahoma City Oncology Center. In quiet, measured words, he mapped out the journey ahead: chemotherapy, radiation, surgery. And he promised, no matter the cost, he would return to the stage. The world would not hear of this battle until months later. In June 2022, Toby took to social media, announcing his diagnosis with characteristic honesty and resolve. "I intend to fight hard," he wrote, "and I hope to see you all again soon." The post quickly filled with outpourings of support. Fellow stars like Blake Shelton, Lainey Wilson, and brothers Osborne sent messages of encouragement, while fans across the nation flooded his pages with prayers, love, and hope. Medical teams rallied as well, offering the latest treatments, innovative therapies, and even clinical trials. Toby publicly thanked them, calling himself lucky for the care he received. Yet quietly, he never let the audience see the full weight of the fight he carried. Even amid chemotherapy sessions and hospital visits, music remained his lifeline. In Los Angeles studios, he recorded vocals for "Peso in My Pocket," his voice occasionally unsteady, yet his determination unwavering. Between takes, he would pause to answer questions from interviews, always redirecting them toward hope, toward the fight, and never dwelling on pity. In Tulsa, he held a benefit concert, auctioning a Gibson signed by Willie Nelson to support families of pediatric cancer patients. Each song he performed became a declaration of defiance, a challenge hurled at the cancer that threatened to define him. At home, Trisha orchestrated a schedule made jagged by treatments, travel, and hospital visits. She packed his bags for flights, held his hand during procedures, and tended to his wounds after surgeries. Their children took shifts by his bedside, offering quiet companionship. Crystal read bedtime stories about cowboys and open skies, bringing small pockets of normalcy to a world otherwise dominated by fear. Steelen played soft acoustic melodies in hospital hallways, ensuring music lingered in every corner, comforting him when the machines beeped and the lights were harsh. Toby never asked for pity. To him, music was strength itself, the pulse that kept him moving, the tether to life outside the sterile walls of the hospital. Even in the solitude of hospital suites, creativity thrived. Piled high on pillows, he scribbled lyric ideas in notepads, recording fragments on his phone at dawn when the world was quiet, capturing melodies before the pain could claim his attention. When scans revealed clear margins, he allowed himself to dream of stadium tours, imagining the roar of the crowd and the strum of his guitar beneath the stage lights. But setbacks came as they inevitably do. When scans darkened again, he gritted his teeth, scheduled the next treatment, and pressed on. The fight spanned 2 years, a tapestry of fatigue, breakthroughs, and relentless determination. Despite the exhaustion that sapped his strength, he found solace in fleeting triumphs. The standing ovation of fans, the soft smile of a child at OK Kids Corral, the applause of a room full of supporters, these moments carried him through the darkness. He leaned on his family, on his faith, and most of all, on his craft. Music was no longer just a career, it was survival, purpose, and sanctuary all at once. In later reflections, he would write, "Cancer did not build this man, the music built this man, and music will carry me through." People often talk about Toby Keith's wife after a series of his news stories were released. Who is his wife? Toby Keith and Trisha's story began like a scene from a small-town romance, unfolding amidst the dust and lights of a county fair in Yukon, Oklahoma. It was an ordinary summer day, yet extraordinary in its own quiet way. They laughed over funnel cakes and rode the Ferris wheel side by side, the kind of laughter that hints at a lifelong connection. Their love quickly took root, and on July 14, 1984, they exchanged vows at St. John's Episcopal Church in Tulsa. Sunlight filtered through the stained glass windows, casting jeweled patterns across the pews. Fresh lilies filled the air with their subtle perfume, mingling with the quiet hum of anticipation. Trisha wore a gown of understated elegance, flowing and luminous, perfectly reflecting her character. Toby's blue suit seemed to echo the expansive Oklahoma sky outside, grounding the ceremony in the landscape they both loved. The celebration continued at a family ranch in Clinton, where string lights twinkled above the dance floor and the scent of bonfire smoke carried on a gentle breeze. Guests toasted marshmallows as honky-tonk music played, laughter spilling into the twilight. That night, under the open Oklahoma sky, their roots intertwined with the traditions of family, music, and home. Soon, their family grew. Their first daughter, Shelley, born in December 1985, had come from Trisha's previous relationship, but Toby adopted her wholeheartedly, embracing her as his own. Crystal joined the family in June 1987, followed a decade later by Steelen in October 1997. Together, they formed a household buzzing with life, love, and music. Their ranch-style home in Norman, Oklahoma was not just a house, it was a living, breathing canvas for family memories. Mornings began with the scent of sizzling bacon and fresh coffee, a comforting ritual that set the rhythm for the day. Trisha laid out plates on the long farmhouse table, filling the air with the warmth of home-cooked breakfasts. Toby, ever the craftsman, carved his initials into an oak post in the yard, a quiet declaration of permanence, a symbol that this was their place in the world. Crystal strummed guitar chords as she practiced for school talent shows, the notes weaving into the hum of daily life, while Steelen chased remnants of a football across the yard. laughter and shouts mingling with the rustle of Oklahoma winds. Weekends brought the true magic of their home. Barbecues filled the air with the scent of smoked ribs from a drum-style smoker Toby had designed himself. Trisha's potato salad, tangy with vinegar and seasoned with care, became a signature dish, celebrated by friends and neighbors who gathered beneath the vast open sky. Music often followed food. Toby picked up his guitar and encouraged guests to sing, transforming the yard into a stage for impromptu performances that lasted until dusk. These gatherings weren't just celebrations. They were expressions of love, community, and shared joy, woven into the fabric of everyday life. Holidays were particularly sacred. Every Christmas Eve, they exchanged gifts beneath the oak tree Toby had carved years earlier, a silent witness to the growth of their family and the passage of time. But they also taught lessons beyond celebration. Packing baskets for families in need, visiting shelters, and giving without expectation instilled in their children an understanding that home was not just walls or property, but a sanctuary of service, compassion, and love. As the years progressed, that sense of sanctuary became even more crucial. When Toby's health began to falter, the Norman Ranch transformed into a recovery retreat. Soft jazz played at low volume, a gentle soundtrack to healing. Trisha prepared nourishing broths and smoothies, guiding him gently back to meals, reminding him of the steak and potatoes meals he loved when his strength returned. Shelley and Crystal took turns reading novels and frontier stories, tales of small-town perseverance and courage that mirrored his own journey. Steelin, methodical and patient, pieced together puzzles in the hallway, leaving the arrangement open for Toby to observe when he felt up to it. The family found joy in these small, intimate moments, creating an environment steeped in care, routine, and quiet love. Those walls bore witness to decades of laughter, music, and memories, and ultimately to his final moments. On February 5th, 2024, Toby Keith took his last breath in that living room. Surrounded by the people who had been his world, family photos lined the walls. Song lyrics pinned to corkboards whispered the echoes of creative life, and the laughter of years past lingered like a comforting hum. In the very house that had been their sanctuary, he passed, surrounded by roots deeply planted, a family firmly intertwined, and a home that embodied everything he had loved and fought for. It was a life full of music, devotion, and unwavering care, leaving behind a legacy not only of songs, but of the quiet, enduring power of family and home. What do you think about Toby Keith? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.